Our topic has to do with school supplies. Anybody got children, grandchildren, nephews, nieces? Anybody know going back to school right now? Okay, yeah. Oh, even if you just look at the Facebook posts, you know, I have friends from long ago saying, I can't believe my kid needs all of this stuff, and she took this picture of this heap, you know, the backpack and the calculator and the notebooks and the pens and the thises and the that's. That's to say nothing of the clothing, right? It's a lot. And so this is a good time of year to talk about going back to school, so to speak. Gary Zukav says that where we are right now, and he's the author of Seed of the Soul, is Earth School. And so if you think, okay, well, let's just bring this in, let's bring this home and talk about the school that we are attending right now, and perhaps even just because of the mood right now, we're thinking unconsciously or consciously because we're sitting here together, how might I prepare to enter into this next season, this next semester, this next stretch, you know, in a way that's more prepared? And how might I enter into this next season in Earth School in a way that is even better than wherever I was last year? You know, the summer, even though we live in sort of a perpetual summer around here, is still a time for rest, for reflection, and for renewal. And so there's this gearing up happening right now, like it or not. So in this gearing up, and we think about how we might put together the supplies that we need for Earth School, we would say that these are going to be spiritual supplies, right? That would narrow it down a little bit, wouldn't it? Because if you think of the whole list for what you might need to be here, well, it would be long and pretty overwhelming. But we're looking at what are the supplies that we need to be here and what. Well, the other thing that helps us determine what we're going to need here in the way of spiritual supplies is to ask another one of those big questions. Why are we here? And you know, there are about as many answers as you can handle, and then a whole bunch more. You know those days when you go out into the world and you feel kind of confused and lost, and you ask questions and you get confusion. You get more answers than you know what to do with, and not an ounce of clarity. Because that question really needs to be asked from someplace within you. It's about who you are. Well, one of the reasons that we are here is because Spirit, God, Creator, the I Am principle, the all that is, whatever you choose to call that, thought, what would it be like to relate? What would it be like to express? What would it be like to embody? What would it be like to experience? Many people in their own mythical creation stories and in their own explorations have proposed that God thought, what would it be like to have someone to talk to? I don't know. There are all kinds of stories. But let's just say that there was a self-contemplation. And because the spiritual substance is all and everything, and it is creative, that something came out of that instantly to answer that question, to fulfill that prayer, to meet that desire, to make it real, so that the experience of the what if could be had. And here we are. What if the reason that we're here is that each one of us is like the embodiment of that question? What would it be like to show up in all of this at this moment in time from this one unique perspective in it all? To be an embodiment of all of this good. To be an expression of it. To experience it. What if each one of us is the embodiment and the expression and the experience of that what if? Another part of why we're here, though, is in realizing that divinity within us, which is infinite. And of course, we couldn't handle it all at once. I mean, we're wired to handle a lot. But we're wired to evolve in our understanding, in our capacity to embody, in our capacity to experience, in our capacity to understand, in our capacity to know, our capacity to love. So we're wired to evolve. All at once, that wouldn't work. Many of you have heard this teaching a lot in these rooms, that because we are free, we can't be handed everything we need all at once without asking for it. Ernest Holmes, our founder, says that nature waits upon man's discovery. So many creation myths say that this amazing thing, this identity, this pot of gold, whatever you call it, was hidden in the one place we would never look, which is right in here. In the Talmud, it says that it is nearer than your neck vein, closer than your breathing, than your hands and feet. And so we have this amazing journey in Earth School where we're looking for something, we're searching for it. There's something in us that says, I know it's here somewhere. I know it. I can feel it in my belly. I can feel it in my bones. I know it's here somewhere. And we do this, and we do this, and we do this. And we look for love in all the wrong places, right? So perhaps part of why we're here is to have this experience of discovering who we truly are, what we're really part of, what is really possible for us, but not just in an individual way, in a collective way as well. And when we think of ourselves individually, as we evolve, we are beginning to recognize more than just a handful of crazy people, right? We are beginning to recognize that each one of us is divine. That each one of us is a son or a daughter of God. That each one of us truly has been created in the image and likeness of our Creator. That each one of us has the capacity within us to take in, to have that mind in us that was in Christ, Buddha, and others. And then rather than to argue about who is the most admirable or worshipable one, to recognize that what all masters have taught is that we are meant to look in here and we will find something. So what if we are here to find it? And not just to find it, but to recognize it's a part of us. And then in recognizing that it's a part of us, to embody and to express more. Many of these other stories and lessons about why we're here say that in that, through Spirit's creations, it is able to experience itself. Through you and 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 me, Spirit, Creator, God, is able to experience itself. Some of you may say himself, some say herself, some say himself. Unity Christian Church says Father, Mother, God. Okay, so that's a pretty good why. Now, if we say we're in Earth School, and now we have a general idea of why we're here that's acceptable enough to move on, then we might know what kind of supplies we need. Let's just say that we arrive with our little backpacks, and we kind of, sort of, have everything we need in them. All right? Let's just accept that all of the other stuff we need, as promised, shows up when we need it. In every myth, in every fairy tale, in every creation story, what we need always shows up.
Yes.
It just does. So let's just say that's so. And we won't worry about our metaphysical paper and pencils and shoes and stuff, okay? But what else might we need in order to have the fullest experience of being here in this, which we're temporarily referring to as Earth School? You know, the little kid, let's say a cute little 6-year-old with the backpack going to school for the first day. You might even remember what that felt like for you, but you probably got plenty of images of it from people in your own family or nearby. Can you imagine that every one of those children has a little tag on his backpack excuse me, perhaps a little card that's supposed to carry in his pocket. And it has some information on it. Here's what it says. It says, number 1, I am. Number 2, my parents are. Number 3, I live at this address. And number 4, if I have to call, I call this number. 4 things. Okay? So the child has probably learned to memorize this. Why? In case he gets lost. Misses the bus, Dad forgets to pick him up, or whatever. He ends up somewhere other than where he needed to be. And he's little. Doesn't know how to, doesn't know who he is yet, doesn't know all of this stuff yet, doesn't know how to provide for himself. But he knows this much. I'm here, and I am told that I need to know these 4 things, and if anything goes wrong, these will get me out of it. Okay? These will get me back where I need to be. Number 1, who am I? Well, my name is Joey Blake. Okay. Whatever it is. Number 2, who are my parents? Well, my mom is, Joe Sr. And my mom, get that backwards. My dad is Joe Sr., my mom is Mary Blake. Okay. My address, I'll steal this from Terry McBride, is 123 Happy Lane. Okay? And if I ever need them, or I need to call home, I call 555-123-4567, and I'm all set. Whatever I need. You get the metaphor? You are that child. I am that child. We're already here. The school's already been picked. We're already enrolled. There's no choice, no discussion about that, because we're here. And we understand that we're here to be some kind of an embodiment and an expression and an experience of the infinite. Biblically, you are here to make manifest the glory of God. Wow. Ooh. How about that? Well, okay. So we're going to set aside our 4 things, and we'll come back to those in a minute. But you know the story of the oak, the acorn and the mighty oak, obviously. That the acorn is this packed seed of a sort that has everything within it. The design, the capacity, the potential, extra nutrients for getting started, right? Everything necessary to make a mighty oak. Now, it doesn't know how to become an oak, and it doesn't need to know how to become an oak, because nature takes care of that. The law of creation takes care of that. Life, God, that is all taken care of. All that acorn needs to do is to land even on top of fertile soil, right? And then the leaves fall on it, and the ground gets moist, and so on, and eventually this whole germination thing takes place, and roots come out, and shoots go up, and, over time, the natural outcome of that acorn is an oak tree, but it didn't need to know how to become one. We have, as the seed, remember this purposeful idea, this point of awareness within the mind and the body of God that we are. We have the same potential. We're like a seed. We have the design in us. We have all of the power to get started. We have everything necessary to become a mighty being, to become an outpicturing, an embodiment, an expression of the divine that is uniquely us, and yet one with all, because we're made of the same stuff, made by the same engineer, if you will. Okay? And we do not need to know how to become that. We're the same as the acorn. We just know that we are that. So part of getting from our unrealized potential to our fully realized potential, which is infinite and goes beyond this experience in this school, is this. We don't need to know how to become that. All we need to know is that we are it. So we go back then to our 4 things. Our 4 things On our little backpack, we have this card that is tied on there so that no matter how often we get lost, if we just remember those 4 things, we'll get back on track and everything will be all right. Okay? We'll be well on our way from acorn to oak, from little idea to great being. Okay? And here's how it happens. We start with the number 1. You remember what it is? Who am I? Moses asked that question, and what he got was, I am that I am. He asked, what do you got? I am that, comma, I am. Do you dare say that? I am that, I am. We remember Marcia MacLean in Out on the Limb, and I mentioned this a couple months ago maybe, but she had some teacher who told her to stand on the edge of the lake with her arms outstretched and say, I am God. And she's thinking, thank goodness we're alone, because, I don't know if I can say that. Can you say yes to and embrace the identity at the core of you that you have been told by Jesus and other masters is there? The beauty of this teaching is that it doesn't matter whether you have such a guide or not. Because what we're saying is it's in you. Whatever you call it is in you. It's already there, awaiting your discovery. And you can discover it and get to know it and call it by whatever name you wish. The important thing is that you have that relationship. So this very first one is the I am one. Who am I? My name is I am. Who are you? What are you? Dare to ask that question and elevate the answer. Expand on the answer. Let the answer be greater and greater every day. Because if you can get up in the morning and look in the mirror and see greatness, you will walk out that door and experience greatness. And if you get up in the morning and look in the mirror and you see smallness, you'll walk out that door and you'll experience smallness. We're free. We get to have either one. We are free to choose what we think about and focus on and how we see ourselves and the consequence, that which comes after as a result of that, is the creative process unfolding in the only way that it can. Okay. So you want to identify with the divine seed within you that has the potential to be great. Anything else will not do. So dig it up, throw it out, just say, get thee behind me, put it on the conveyor belt, whatever your method is. Ask, who am I? And take the biggest answer and hold that. So the second one is, who are my parents? Once again, in this teaching, you get to decide what works best for you. Because we all have different experiences and interpretations of what that means. We might have great memories of mother and not so great ones of father, or the other way around, or neither, or both, I don't know. But if you can imagine that the ultimate divine parent or parents does a few things for you no matter what, then you've got something. So what are those qualities? Who are we born of? I said in the opening prayer that we are made in the image and likeness and out of something that is limitless, that is all-knowing, all-loving, ever-perfect, ever-present, ever-alive, constantly renewing, inexhaustible, infinite. Okay. So what if we say that we are born of that? We are born of Father, Mother, God. We are born of something that is infinite, inexhaustible love, and that wants the best for us. Loves us so much that all of that is provided at every turn. And loves us so much that it lets us make our own mistakes because we are free. And loves us so much that even though we do that to ourselves, we get another chance. And another one, and another one. Not only are we forgiven, we're actually never condemned. We are given. So we go to the third thing, and the third thing says, what's your address? Well, think about it. Are you not sure where you live right now? Do you live in a place that is an outpicturing of the very best of you? Is there something about it that's less than you would like it to be? Boy, I know that. I know that. Because I have experienced the contrast from the seemingly great to the seemingly small, to the seemingly beautiful to the seemingly not. One of my favorite places is where my stepmother lives, in a cabin in the woods in Vermont. And it's just full of stuff. It is like an absolute menagerie. And not a spot is uncovered. There are all kinds of things constantly being discovered and put on display. And you can move about. It's a beautifully clean environment, a peaceful environment as well. But there's a different kind of beautiful than the other stuff that I've experienced traveling and working that's huge, big, grand in another way. And so when you think about what you call home, remember to do this. Remember to see through the eyes and feel through the heart of the I am. Remember who you are and whose you are, and from whence you have come, and why you are here. Excuse me. And think of home in a new way. Why? Once again, get up in the morning, look in the mirror, and say, self, what do you say? I feel so beautifully at home. I love everything about my life and my surroundings. And you walk out the door, and what kind of experience do you have? But if you get up and say, oh, I hate this place, we've done that a few times in our journey with this center. We've thought, oh, we're ready for something else. Then along comes somebody like a Zen master who says, well, first, grasshopper, you must really love fully and completely right where you are. And then and only then can it change. Wallace Wattles was part of the Prosperity Plus class that we're doing starting in a week and a half, 2 weeks. He says that we must fully occupy the space we're in life, whatever that is, before we can move on to another one. We must not long or dream for something other than where we are now. We must be full in appreciation and maximize our utilization of where we are right now. And then it'll be natural and easy and effortless to go wherever next is. David Alt, Reverend Dr. David Alt, just wrote a book called The Grass is Greener Right Here. You see? Okay. So we reinterpret our idea of what home is, and we elevate it, and we expand it, and we remember that home, for right now, is here on earth, but home is this place in our hearts where we find our true identity as divine and limitless and loved and guided and supplied and supported. We find our true lineage there. So elevate your idea of what home is. And lastly, when you think about calling home as a spiritual metaphor, did you have a way that you learned how to pray when you were a child that did not make sense? You thought, that just doesn't work for me. I don't know about you, but I wasn't learning it from my parents. They had already rejected what they thought was sort of not working for them. So we were quite free range. But I remember I had friends who had practices and things I had to go to and do, and they didn't make sense to me. But what did make sense to me is when we would go out and play, and we would let our imaginations run wild, and we just created entire worlds. We communed with nature. We played with one another. We had fantastic adventures. Nothing had any limits. It was extraordinary. And so my way of calling home early on was just to be in nature with my imagination going, like this. And knowing that everything was provided and all was well. There was nothing to worry about. And I still call upon that today. And then I learned another one. Any of you have a creative, self-expressive hobby, thing that you like to do? I found out, because I'm still neither spiritual nor in any way religious, that when I was in high school doing the all-state music festivals, we had to audition. And we had to practice. We had to sing all day long and all the next day, and then have this huge performance in the evening. And I had a lot of education in that way growing up. And I finally realized sometime on that one particular weekend when I was like 17 or 16 or something, that I felt a presence. I felt a presence. And I couldn't explain it, but from that moment forward, I knew that another way to get home, to call home, to connect with home, to call upon my lineage and to feel great was to do music. And so if you have anything in your life that is creative, it can be cleaning, by the way, cleaning the garage or the bathroom or whatever, doing a project. You know, that's what the Buddhists think, just a simple thing of sweeping the floor, whatever it is. And the other thing is that you can re-examine prayer. And you can do that with us if you haven't already. As a matter of fact, we have a workshop coming up next week. You can re-examine prayer. What if you could call upon your Creator and call the way that you want, and call the number that you want, and have the conversation that you want, and have the feeling you're after of recognition, of feeling at home, of feeling certain and purposeful and energized and enthusiastic and alive and peace, beautiful, joyful. So perhaps you've given up calling home, that fourth thing, because you didn't like the number, you didn't like the conversation you had, you didn't like the experience you were having, you didn't understand it. Go back and re-examine that. So what I'd like to say finally is simply this. If you think of yourself as being, what the heck, at a time in your life when you're ready to re-enroll in Earth School starting tomorrow in a new way, and you know that your backpack is already full of everything you need, and you've got these 4 things with you that will make all the difference anytime you get lost or unsure, would you do them? So let's just make sure we know what they are. Number 1, I am. Who am I? My name is I am. Who are you? Number 2, I come from. My parents are. My God is. It could be Jehovah. It could be Abba. It could be anything. What is it for you? It feels good. It gives you that sense of no matter what, they've got my back. Number 3, where is home? Where's home really? Not out there. Not in all of that stuff that changes, but in here. And number 4, if I were to begin calling again and calling regularly and giving myself that connection, that support, that renewal, how would I do it? What would the number be? That's all you need to remember. 4 things for your spiritual school supplies. Thank you.